With Ninjago ended, a lot of fans are in tears. I know how you feel, guys. When my favorite LEGO theme, Adventurers, was cancelled, I felt the same way. But Johnny Thunder still lives because of the people who write about him. And trust me, I do not think the ninja are in any danger of losing fans who write stories about them. The trick to writing good fan fiction? Being able to back up what you're writing using things from the series, real-life information, and your own experiences. So here's me, Scarheart, divided into LEGO knowledge, creative side, and researcher, here to show you what I've applied in my own fanfictions, and to give you Ninjago fans out there some ideas on where you can start writing. Note, this episode contains spoilers for the prequel series, Episodes 7, 13, 23, and also some spoilers for Star Wars, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, The Inheritance series, The Lion King, and Bambi. Should make a lot of references in this one, I guess. I brace myself for the damage that I'll undoubtedly be greeted by upon the removal of the golden sword, fire. When I muster the courage to look down, it all looks pretty helpless. All of Zane's motors, gears, and circuit boards are either crushed to bits from the impact of the razor-sharp blade, or warped and melted from the fire. I have to look away from my friends so I don't see the pain in their faces when I deliver the blow. Guys, not even Ninjago's leading robotics experts could help him. He's gone. This quote about Zane's death came from a fanfiction called More Than Just an Android. It is written by Chris Crossed, and there's a link in the description. Death and near death is one of the saddest things you can put in any story. However, it's only sad if it's applied correctly. As with most aspects of writing, there are some basic rules of thumb. Number 1. Remember that death is only sad because it means that there's no going back. Even if you plan to have a character somehow return later on, readers must believe that they're gone for good. Putting a non-mortal wound, or worse yet, saying that the character is dying only because they're going to die, makes a really cheesy death scene at best. Plus, readers are given a false hope that the character will come back. While this may sound like a sad note, trust me, when it comes to reader and writer relationships, it's not. For this reason, it's a really poor idea to kill off an OC. Number 2. Give the reader a chance to mourn. While it may be easiest to just kill off a character in battle, the action needs to be slowed down. Readers need time to shed tears, to realize that this character may never come back. If you jump straight into the action suddenly, the reader's attention is then whipped into the battle, and the death will become unimportant. Number 3. This is probably the most important one. The character who dies must, I repeat, must be a character that the audience loves. Readers have to know and that they will miss the character who dies. There is an exception to this, but I'll get into that later. So let's analyze the 2 times Ninjago nearly kills off Sensei Wu. Because let me tell you something, the first time it was really badly done, but the second time they nailed it. The first time happens in the prequel series. Sensei Wu flows backwards over lava and falls into the underworld while drinking tea. Kai gives a long no, and then goes to tame a dragon. The second time, Sensei Wu is eaten alongside Pythor by the Great Devourer. We see his body disappear into nothing but a few lights, and the ninjas look on in shock and sadness before the Great Devourer sees them. With death number 1, first of all, there's nothing to really suggest in dialogue or in the actions that Sensei Wu died. The guy fell while drinking a cup of tea. Anyone can tell he's going to be fine. Secondly, all we get is a prolonged no. We have no time to mourn and barely any time to acknowledge what has happened. Lastly, we have a character whom we don't really know well that dies. Sensei Wu's not developed a character yet, and anyone who's watching is probably thinking, there goes another elderly teacher dying like most of them do. What's that? You think I'm exaggerating? Well, let's see. Obi-Wan Kenobi, Gandalf, Dumbledore, Braum. These characters are meant to die so the heroes can move on. It's just part of literature. Now for Sensei Wu's second death, first of all, we see him get eaten and we see him disappear. We think that Sensei Wu is really gone from the series now. Second, Sensei Wu is now a developed character. He has a love-hate brotherhood relationship with Garmadon and quirky moments that we're all gonna miss. We do not want Sensei to die. Lastly, the Great Devourer doesn't pursue the ninjas immediately. The ninjas are able to look on, giving us enough of a chance to stare as well and start to get a feel of what's really happened. Also, while this isn't a rule of thumb and more of an optional addition, the episode tells us that something will happen to Sensei Wu and we're glued, wondering and hoping that the ninjas will save him. Now, I seem to recall another near death in Ninjago. Oh yeah, Zane's dad! This is the exception I was talking about. At the time we see the death of Dr. Julian, who is Zane's father, we really don't know him. We certainly don't know enough about him to mourn him. So, we're sad for a different reason. We're sad because Zane is sad. We are all brought to understand that Zane truly is without family, or so he thinks. His search has in part been in vain, and we see the tear rolling down Zane's face, knowing that it's hurting at the same time as making him stronger. Of course, this all gets thrown out the window 15 episodes later, but you get the point. Still don't get it? Let me give you a better example. Mufasa's death in The Lion King. I'm sure a good number of you haven't seen The Lion King since you were a kid, so sit down sometime and watch. You'll find that Mufasa's death scene, you're not on the brink of tears because Mufasa's dead. You barely know him, but your heartstrings are being pulled by tiny, frightened Simba, running around screaming for help before crawling into the arms of his father's body to cry. The last thing to note is that there are a lot of beliefs on what happens after you die, as well as different types of burials, and some fanfictions do go into these. If you plan to use one that you personally don't believe, or burial that you haven't attended, please do research as hard as you can so you don't offend anyone. Death and afterlife is a very touchy subject. So happy writing and happy killing off characters. Next time, join me when I start to talk about one of my stronger points in writing. I don't care what anyone says. Mufasa's death is way sadder than Bambi's mother. Researcher, calm down. Everything turned out alright in the end of the movie. Besides, we're mostly supposed to be discussing Ninjago in these.